Time to talk some Notre Dame football. We got John Kennedy on the line from Always Irish right here at the Voice of College Football. Please like this video, even if you don't agree with me. If you enjoy the content, the debate, the discussion, please like the video. John, what's going on today?
What's going on, Mark? It's nice to be welcomed back into Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. It's been a while. It's good to be back, baby.
Absolutely. It's great to see you. Great to hear from you. As always, we will try to push some buttons to get you going because I know people love that.
It's everybody's favorite hobby, man. And I fall into the trap every day. There's a troll planting something just to get me going, and I can't resist.
What got you going and others in the Irish community was the search for an offensive coordinator. Yes. So,
yeah.
Gerard Parker is the guy in play, and he may turn out to be an excellent offensive coordinator. We don't know at this point.
Yep.
I think for you and for some, it was more about the look of, are we going full throttle to be an elite football program?
Yeah, you had two issues here with that dynamic. So number one is something went wrong with the process here. And I am not exactly sure where. There are rumors, this and that, of what went on. Something went wrong with Notre Dame's process that exposed us publicly to nightmare PR that you don't need in the middle of the winter when it should be the slow time of the year, okay? And I'm taking a lot of heat from certain Notre Dame circles because I went strong on, are you behind Marcus or not? Like, where's the support? You know, whatever. I thought we were getting modern here. Verse, hey, it just didn't work out. No big deal. I can't go with that. You were flirting with the guy at the hockey game on camera for everybody to see all weekend at campus. Flirting, making sure everybody saw this was your guy, and then it doesn't work out, and then you get hammered publicly, and you act like you don't know why. Awful. So I don't know whether it was miscommunication, bad timing. Marcus thought he had more flexibility to do something that he found out he didn't have. Maybe the AD Swarbrick had Freeman's back and went to the bean counters, and they said no at that meeting. Maybe Ludwig actually did reconsider and didn't want to do it. Whatever one of those realities it is, Mark, Notre Dame messed this up from a PR standpoint, and they are usually great with that, and it rubs me the wrong way that when it came to football, they dropped the ball on it. Anything else?
Yes, there's more.
Something's wrong. Something went wrong with the process. And then after the heat came out from people like me, Swarbrick sends a big email asking for donations, telling me my passion's misdirected. And if you care that much, hit the link to donate. So, bad PR look. I was not in the room. I don't know where the hiccup came from, but there was one. So, moving forward, we just need to tidy that up so there's not this national negative exposure. That's one part of it. Part two is, then you get into the existential discussion of, do they really have Marcus's back of going full throttle if this is the guy he wanted and then a buyout for him and the O-line guy got in the way? For Notre Dame, fancy Notre Dame, you got a 16-foot gold Mary up there. We don't have the money to get an offensive coordinator. Okay, so then that's a different debate of, does Marcus have full support from the administration? And the reason that's a worthwhile debate is Lou Holtz lost that after a while when he became bigger than what they wanted him to be over there. And Frank Leahy had to go through that as well when he became too big than they wanted to be over there. So it's not unprecedented. All of that has me in an uncomfortable spot.
All right. We'll make it a little bit more uncomfortable possibly here, John. So looking at Parker,
yeah,
what is the hope that he is going to be a top-notch offensive coordinator? What is the concern that he may not be? Are there enough indicators there at this point?
Some of this is perceptual, Mark. And the reason I feel bad for Parker is that guy just got a great promotion from tight ends coach to OC at Notre Dame. That should be met in every other circumstance with positivity. Good for him, giving him a chance of a higher profile role. But all of that started with so much negativity coming off the Ludwig thing, and then you go in-house with Parker. Though you know the way that's going to come off naturally is something went wrong with the guy we really wanted outside our home run higher. We don't want to risk that again, so we're going in-house. That's just kind of a weak hand nationally, perceptually. So it's met with that negativity of like, you went with the in-house guy because it didn't work out with who you wanted outside. Go with your buddy that can't say no kind of vibe. So that's an unfair perceptual start for Parker. The irony in all of this, Mark, is the offense is going to be better no matter what because the talent's way better in the most important positions. So I think the offense is going to be better than it was last year, whether it was Reese or Parker. That's the irony in this. I think the offense is going to be better no matter what. I just wish the guy had a clean slate to start with, and he just couldn't because of all the negativity.
So was your take pretty similar to many in the Notre Dame community about Tommy Reese being a offensive coordinator?
Mark, it is the most Notre Dame-y situation. All right. You got Tommy Reese, the hometown boy, as a player, as a coach. There has never been any offense he's been involved in at Notre Dame as a player or a coach that was any good at all, that moved the needle at all. Never. Now, recruiting, a lot of the families love him. He's good in that living room. A lot of the players like him. He did really good recruiting with quarterbacks once Kelly left. He started doing really good with quarterback recruiting, building those relationships. However, the actual offenses at Notre Dame, they were never any good at all naturally that you could like compete in a playoff game with him. But then Notre Dame's layer on layer on layer, Mark. So then you go down the rabbit hole of, all right, well, we haven't really had the best offensive talent. Was that Brian Kelly and the way he did things at Notre Dame? Like, was it fair to judge Reese because he didn't have the best talent and all that? So then you didn't know how much of the offensive inefficiency was actually him and developing these guys versus the talent there. So now we end up in a position where Hartman came in, and then you were like, now we're going to see Tommy work with a big arm quarterback that could make more throws than what we're used to at Notre Dame. This will be exciting. And then Reese leaves, and it's like, well, Nick Saban wants him. He's a genius. He's the boy wonder. Saban wants him. He's got to be great. And I'm saying, where's any results that show that at Notre Dame ever? They don't exist. They don't exist. So his dad's well thought of. Everybody says he's a boy wonder, a head coach in the making and all that. And our offenses are like 43rd in the country, nothing to write home about always. So Notre Dame fans are in the middle on this. Half of them say, see you later, Tommy. We need new eyes. Get away from the Notre Dameness. It'll be good for him. It'll be good for us. And then other people are going, he's about to explode and we missed it. Now Saban gets it. I've been around Tommy Reese for a long time as a player and a coach. I've never seen any creativity that blew my mind or looked innovative. We didn't have great talent. That's a part of it, but it's split down the middle, Mark. Hometown boy, a lot of people love him, never want him to leave for that. And other people are going, Saban can want him all he wants. Maybe he'll be great with there, have 5 stars everywhere. But here, our offenses were yawn fests forever.
I don't think there's any question that you can size up either side of the debate and make a reasonable argument for either one. And I have, and you have, and there it is. And we will see what he does at Alabama. And regardless of whether now, if he fails by Alabama standards, then we've got our answer.
Here's what I don't like. What I don't like is I could see this coming a mile away, Mark. We're going to score a whole boatload of points at Alabama. And then I'm going to hear, see this one more year. And this is what you would have got, acting as though Notre Dame and Alabama's rosters are equal. And he's going to have 5-star talent to draw up whatever he wants and know it's going to work. Like, that's the argument I'm not open to. And I'm going to get it. If he takes off at Alabama, I'm going to have to, that's what people are going to say. And I'm going to go, you give me that talent. And I would have loved to see it at Notre Dame. But it isn't apples and apples because of that talent difference, even if it takes off. Most interestingly, Mark, I've never had interest in an SEC game before like I do. Tommy Rees's Crimson Tide against Brian Kelly and LSU. Now, that is the most Notre Dame SEC game ever, and I am supremely intrigued by that matchup. By the way, I'm all Alabama on that one. Roll Tide, baby.
Okay. I'm not surprised by that. I will say it this way. For my own personal perspective, unless there's other factors that come into the equation, for me, if Tommy Rees goes to Alabama and Alabama fails on offense by Alabama standards, then it's a slam dunk. Okay, Tommy Rees is not all that. That's pretty obvious because anybody steps into that role and succeeds. But if he steps into that role and Alabama takes off and does Alabama things, then I'm with you. I can't make the conclusion. I'm like, well, either Saban did see something here and he is better than advertised and better than what he performed at Notre Dame, or maybe he's just drawing up anything he wants and the players are making guys miss in the open field and they're doing the job.
And you know what, Mark? Being very genuine about this, I mean this. Notre Dame people love Notre Dame people. Like you're in the family, like you're in the family kind of thing, except for Kelly. But everybody else, you're pretty much still in the family. There is a legitimate human argument I could make that at some point, when you've been all Notre Dame since 17 years old, he left for a year or two, 1 year in the NFL as an assistant and one more as a GA somewhere right out of school. And I could make the argument, though, it might be better for everybody to separate a little bit. And then he's not shackled by the shadow of the dome and all the extra expectations placed on him because of that history we have with him. He grew up in our eyes as a recruit and a player for the team that ended up making the championship in 2012 and getting killed. But we grew up with him. He grew up with us. I make a real argument. It might be healthier for clean slate. Get out of the Notre Dame shadow. It'll free him up, spread his wings, see a different way to do things. And I think that'll be good for him. And then from the Notre Dame end, Rees was like one of the last big chunks of Kelly-ness left in that program. And you could make an argument. It might have actually been healthier to have this split Marcus's first year and make it right then the line of Kelly and Marcus. Here we go. And you're a big piece of that. Go do your thing. That's an argument I've been thinking about is, would it have been cleaner to just do that right away rather than wait a year? But the leadership wanted Rees around just because he's a longtime guy and they were cool with Marcus being the head guy, but they liked having their boy there to kind of see things. There's a little vibe there that kicked up. Kind of coach 1 and coach 1B, Rees felt like he was. And there was a little something there, in my opinion. I just think, like with Kelly, everything's has an expiration date, and it was just time. Rees is a divider, man. I'm looking at 50-50 on my call-in shows. Is this good or bad? Is he a genius or not? Like, it's 50-50. And so it's going to be very interesting, but I think it'll do him good to get out of the shadow of the dome. I mean that.
Everybody out there, blame John for my next question because I was not going to utter the name Brian Kelly, but I got to get to this because it's all going to be about Hartman and Freeman and spring football and recruiting in the future. We'll get to that in just a second, but you brought up the name Brian Kelly. If you just come in from the outside without any kind of context to it and you say, this was Notre Dame under Willingham and Davey and Weiss, and then this is what Brian Kelly did, and then you obviously would have a positive perception of what Brian Kelly built at Notre Dame and just said, if we're just looking at wins and losses and recruiting classes, then Brian Kelly did a nice job. But that's not the feedback and the vibe I get from Notre Dame people about Brian Kelly.
But everything you said could be true. Everything you said could be totally legitimately accurate. And that still doesn't mean that everybody was ready to break up, including Kelly himself. Like, everything you said could be true, but I might also suggest that's a low bar. And I don't like Notre Dame being compared to the worst recent hires. Like, that's kind of a low bar. Willingham and Weiss, like, can't we have a little higher standard than just being better than that? Would be one of my reactions. Here's what happened, Mark, and you could feel it and you could see it. And my validation in saying you could feel it and see it is it was both ways. The administration was getting tired of Kelly. Kelly was getting tired of the administration. Okay. Kelly was getting tired of the fans, and we were getting tired of him. He even mentions things in press conferences like the relationship soured, and we reached a point where nothing else, we weren't never going to get any higher. Kelly was never going to change the way he recruited at Notre Dame. He was not an engaged, active recruiter at Notre Dame. He was not, Mark. The assistants were doing most of it. He was like a closer, come in at the end, didn't want to spend a lot of time building relationships before he knew everybody could clear grades. By that time, it was too late to jump in the mix. There were a lot of recruiting things he was not willing to do. Getting on the private jet and flying around and recruiting, he did not want to do that anymore, and it started to show. And then that's why the last few years they were very solid, but everybody saw there was a clear glass ceiling Notre Dame was not getting above when you get to that point, meaning a playoff game or whatever. And without a change in recruiting quite drastically, it was never going to change. Kelly was not willing to do that work. And then everybody got sick of everybody. He looked for an exit, and now he's at LSU.
So everything you just stated right there was well stated, and not necessarily anything I didn't know, but it just seems as though people cannot separate doing a good job versus we didn't like how it finished and we didn't like the attitude nor the approach he took to the job, but he did produce these results.
Yeah, but the results are like, what are the results? What do I get out of him winning the most regular season games ever and never winning a bowl game that matters? Like what? Like it's better than going 7-5, but this is Notre Dame. There's no division to win or anything. So like the idea that I'm supposed to love a guy who never won any major bowl game at Notre Dame seems odd to me. Like that's the only thing there is, and he never did it once. How in love am I supposed to be with that? Not saying he did a terrible job. He rebuilt the culture and did a lot of great things, but we never got anywhere. He did a lot of great things. I am not saying he didn't. He rebuilt the culture when he inherited the program. It was in a bad spot. He built up a lot of infrastructure at Notre Dame that was in dire straits. He built a culture of stability and a certain level. But after 10 years, people want a little more than that. Like you want to feel progress. And it just got to a level it was never going to get any better than. He tired of it as well. And that's where you started having interpersonal things, and how you treat people. And then that kind of blows up. And Kelly was looking for a way out. And I'm going to give him a lot of credit. This LSU thing is a great fit for him. It is beautiful. I give him credit. If you were going to do this, he did it the right way because he's got what he wants in recruiting now. He can hang out down there within a couple hundred miles, doesn't have to fly all over. He's got it made. The grades it's not right or wrong. It's just a different way to do it. The grades aren't what they are, a little looser with NIL. Kelly has what he wanted at Notre Dame. He was never going to have the flexibility to move more guys in and out, use that portal, do NIL, recruit locally. All of that benefits Kelly. So as far as an exit strategy, this is an A+ for Brian Kelly. And I applaud him for it. And it's kind of affirmation to me that what I sensed with him, he sensed as well. And behind the scenes, he was telling his agent, find me the best landing spot because this is stale here. And they're not appreciating me. I'm not appreciating them. So it's a good job by him. But Mark, what it comes down to is effort. Brian Kelly stopped. He was not willing to put in the effort it took to get over the hump. And once it becomes an effort thing, I don't forgive that. I can forgive you putting in full effort, not getting over the hump. But when I hear from my recruiting guys, he's not willing to open a door, go get on the plane. We're done here. There's nothing else. We're done here when we reach that point. I got to go to bed every night, Mark, knowing the Notre Dame guys working all they can for us. Knowing that guy's golfing when he should be on the private jet rubs me the wrong way. Once we hit that point, you're dead to me.
Because we know what the competition's doing. They're grinding. We know that the competition's grinding. The elites are grinding. And John, you nailed the Brian Kelly fit to LSU because while on the surface it seemed like the weirdest, strangest fit in the world, culturally, operationally, and functionally, it fits as you just described.
It does. LSU needed some stabilization and like somebody to kind of just start building that again. Kelly's great at that. Like they're not going to have culture issues and guys running wild. Like Kelly's going to control all that. It's going to be very, very stable. The most interesting dynamic to me about Kelly going to the SEC is I want to know how willing Kelly is to jump into all the SEC-ness and a lot of some of the stuff that goes on down there. I would love to just know his willingness to engage to that level in things that at Notre Dame land would have sent you right to purgatory forever, right? Like, I wonder what his willingness is to wade into those LSU swamps, if you will, and go down that path. But really good fit for him. Like awkward at first, the accent, all that. I had a heyday with it. But that might be great for a guy like that to come down there and go, you know what? I'm not from here. I talk a little different, but you guys need something different. And now we're going to do it my way and stabilize it. So far, so good for him. And the other argument, just like with Reese, if he goes to Alabama and lights it up, I'm going to hear, I thought you said he wasn't good. And I'm going to say the talent's different. Same thing at LSU with Kelly recruiting. I'm going to hear, look at his great class at LSU. What do you mean he can't recruit? Not recruiting well at Notre Dame's different than recruiting at LSU. They're not comparable. So I'm going to have to deal with that too. Oh, he has good classes there. What are you saying? He couldn't recruit at Notre Dame. I didn't say anything about LSU. He wasn't recruiting Notre Dame right. He wasn't putting the effort in here. I don't care what he does down there.